Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to World War III, episode number 19. I want to get into this swing we've seen with a lot of independent people and people moderately on the left switching parties. Why is it happening? What can the Democrats do about it? How do they change it back? We're seeing a very interesting graph. I want to show people a swing. First thing I quickly wanted to touch on, you can take a look at this tweet, the New York Post. Los Angeles County bans official travel to Florida over the Don't Say Gay bill. And then it's a quote tweet and it says, there is no ban on travel to the 69 countries that criminalize homosexuality. So you guys can see what Los Angeles County is doing. They're playing politics. It's, you're not allowed to travel to Florida because they're so anti-gay, when there's actual countries where it's literally illegal to be gay. But no, you can travel to those. Yeah, you can travel to those. It just shows you how ridiculous and what a sham the whole thing is. But guys, this is what I wanted to get to. This graph on 2022 congressional preference, and as you can see, a lot of shifts favoring the Republicans. You've got men with a college degree shifting 26. Again, I'm not exactly sure how accurate this is, but that is a study that is 26% is huge. So that's going from plus 16 in 2018 to right now in 2022 plus 10 for Republican. That's a shift pro-Republican 26%. Men with no degree moving 12% more to the Republican. Women with a college degree actually becoming more to the left. I have theories on that. I don't want people to claim I'm sexist, so I'm not going to talk about that. And then women with no degree shifting to the right, plus 2%. So why is this happening? And guys, you go on Real Clear Politics, you will see official, just straight popular vote polls where Republicans are leading over Democrats. When I got first into politics back in 2015, 2016, 2017, you would never, ever see a popular vote where it's pro-Republican, like poll after poll after poll after poll. Popular vote I'm talking about. Not about a certain state, like Ohio has gone more to the right, Florida's gone more to the right. I'm talking about just overall the country. Which way is it leaning? It's always been, since I got into politics back in 2015, 2016, it's always been pro-Democrat. And the question for Trump was, he's going to lose the popular vote, guaranteed, but can he carry the Rust Belt? Can he win Pennsylvania? Can he win Florida? Can he keep, at this point, Georgia? The Democrats have done a nice job with Georgia, running up, huge numbers in those big cities like Atlanta to really be competitive in that state. But we're seeing like Florida on the verge of officially kind of becoming a Republican state. I don't know if you can ever call Florida a Republican state, but it's as close as it will ever be. You go back to 2016, it was a complete toss-up. Ohio, the same thing. Trump wins Ohio by 8 points against Hillary, and then in 2020 against Biden, basically the same margin. The Rust Belts were very close. Biden was able to take those, which helped him win. But it was never a question like there are more Democrats than there are Republicans in the United States of America. Like the popular vote the past two election cycles has never been a question. We knew Hillary was going to win the popular vote back in 2016, and we knew Biden in 2020. Now we're seeing a shift, and the thing that I do want to get into the shift, why it's happening, and I really want to caution Democrats. I think Democrats are letting the alt-left have too much power. You see these crazy ideas, these radical ideas like defunding the police. And if you are a normal Democrat, and I know a lot of normal Democrats, I love a lot of Democrats. It is, I understand why people are Democrats, but if you're a normal Democrat, you have to tell these people, shut up. What are you talking about? Defund the police. You're an idiot. You have to, that cannot be tolerated, but instead of saying that, they think if they say that, they're being pro-police or like pro-right-wing. So they don't say that. They don't say, oh yeah, that's a good idea. They don't like, by being silent, it allows the alt-left to spew their garbage, and I think the alt-left is kind of more culturally accepted in the Democratic Party than the alt-right is in the Republican Party, if that makes sense. Like the alt-left, whenever they have these crazy ideas, you have to say, just shut up. We're not defunding the police. You're a fucking moron. That's what you have to say. And I think we're seeing, if you split it up into like 4 quadrants, you've got the alt-left, you've got the solid left, you've got the moderate left, and you've got the independents. And you talk about, and the independents, independent people. And you talk about all of this woke crap that's just, the vast majority of normal Americans are like, that's just crazy. I mean, the swimmer who you see who was a male, and I don't want to get into the trans issues, but you see them at first, second, and third place, they stand together, and the one in first place has a completely different body. Folks, there's something wrong here, okay? Like, are we not human? Can we not see that? Like, let's just call it out. Instead of, we're gonna hurt someone's feelings, like, no, this is not fair. It's not fair. Okay, this is ridiculous. And I think all this woke crap is extremely embraced by the alt-left. It's pretty well embraced by the solid left. 60 or 70% people that are solidly left-leaning probably like the woke stuff. But the moderate left and the independents hate this crap. And you're going to see moderate people that were Democrats switching or at least becoming independent, not because they've become less liberal. It's because the left has gone further left. And they go further left, and the people are staying there. They're like, wait, you're over here now. You believe in completely different things. So if I'm a Democrat, my advice to the Democrats, you need to repeal this dumb shit that the alt-left says and say, listen, there are serious things we're fighting for against Republicans. Let's not alienate independents. Let's not alienate people that are moderately left by embracing these ridiculous talking points that make no sense, like communism, some of the socialist stuff. It's not that I completely hate socialism, but some of the stuff some of these people talk about is just nuts. And I'm sure, if you follow American politics, you know what I'm talking about. And it's like the alt-left has a lot more, not necessarily control, but they're given a much bigger voice than the alt-right. And the alt-right would be racists, white, whatever, neo-Nazis, things like that. The alt-left has a much bigger voice in their party than the alt-right does. And I think it's a major advantage for conservatives to be like, listen, we're just conservative people. We're normal. We want what's best for America. And if you're a person that's an independent, we're seeing these numbers flip. And again, I don't know what the context of this poll was. I don't know if it was a city. I'm guessing it was just the overall popular vote on where you stand politically. But that is a crazy shift. When you see a shift plus 26 out of any demographic over a 4-year span, I would guess it's not 100% accurate, but still, that is crazy. Plus 12% for Republicans with men with no degree. The woman with the college degree shifting even further to the left. I want to talk about it, but I want to be very delicate when I talk about it. I want to be very careful because I don't want to come off as sexist. So what I think is happening with women or young girls with a college degree actually becoming more liberal, a lot of time you have these girls who are 17, 18 years old, they don't have a political bone in their body. They have no viewpoints, and they get, quote unquote, taken under their wing by a bunch of old white, heavy left, alt-left professors. And this happens with both young girls and boys, but with girls it's more profound because it's like they preface it when you go into college. You want to talk about 90, maybe 95% of the professors are left leaning, and they preface it. It's like, you don't have a choice. If you want to be a good person, you need to be liberal. What is the one thing they always call Republicans? Racist. Racist, 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 racist. If you support Donald Trump, you are a racist. Republicans are a bunch of white racist people. They jam that down the throats of young 18, 19-year-old girls who don't go into college, don't even know what a Democrat or Republican is. And what they do is, it's not an option. They don't say, this is what Republicans believe in, this is what Democrats believe in, you choose. It's, do you want to be a good person? You need to be a liberal. They are racists. Donald Trump hates women. He's a rapist. He's a racist. He hates Mexicans. He hates immigrants. They hate all of it. And that's why I think you see the shift more to the liberal. These young women, they don't have any political thoughts developed in their mind, and they're immediately hit with not a choice between a Democrat or a Republican. Do you want to be known as a good person in your heart? Do you care about gay people? Do you care about trans people? That is how they kind of approach it, and that's why that would be my speculation on why the pro-Democrat with women in college and then women with no degree, it's very close, but it says, I mean, I'm sure it's within the polling error, so it might not be Republican +2, but I just thought that was an interesting thing here as we reach 2022. You know, you're seeing polls on Real Clear Politics. I remember when I was younger, you know, back 2015, when I would follow the Republican primary with Trump and John Kasich and Ted Cruz and Rubio, things like that, and you would see the overall mainstream popular vote polls, and Hillary Clinton would be Clinton +5, Clinton +7, Clinton +10. You would never see a Republican in a popular vote poll be leading, ever. It was always the question, and this happened with Trump, you know, would Trump be able to squeak out the swing states to where he could win all the swing states while losing the popular vote like he did with Hillary back in 2016? You know, the overall point I'm trying to make, there were just clearly more Democrats voting than Republicans. And now we might be seeing a shift, especially the two states, I would say, Florida and Ohio in particularly, to where, you know, people are considering Ohio a right-leaning state. And Florida, it's one of those where I don't know if you can ever say it's not a swing state just because it's always been, but it has been, you know, it's not like Trump blew out Biden. I think he won by 3.5 points, although with how close Florida normally is, that was very surprising. Trump won by 3.5. I would have said it would have, if Trump would have won, it'd be like by a point or two, but he ended up winning by 3.5. So those two states that were swing states seem to be shifting a little more Republican. I also do have to note that you've got a state like Georgia, which the Democrats, again, did a great job getting all of those inner city votes and flipping Georgia to Joe Biden in 2020. So that's something that Republicans are going to have to combat. They always talk about Texas. I don't think it's going to happen. Of course, there is the idea of a lot of people on the left leaving California because they've got all these really horrible laws that allow crime, these alt-left laws, and then they leave California and go to Texas, and then they elect those same people, and that's why Texas could become Democrat. Now, I don't know if I believe that, but it is a funny theory. But no, I think Texas is definitely going to stay Republican. I know they're having the governor race there, and the Republican has been leading the polls by about 8 or 9 points. So that's where I would expect probably the 2024 general election to go, unless you have a mass migration from the West Coast with a bunch of liberal people flooding into Texas. Even then, I still think Texas would probably be conservative at that point. Here is another little questionnaire. This is from Fox News, so take it for what it's worth, but I always like looking at these. Biden and how he's handling these situations, approve versus disapprove. Economic relief, +19 disapprove. Crime, +21 disapprove. Inflation, what is that, like +40% disapprove? And gas prices, I don't know who approves. Like, there's 31% of the people that I guess no matter what happens to gas will approve, because I don't know how you can approve of paying basically double to fill up your tank, which with what it was at a year ago compared to where it is now. But it's always funny to see the people that approve, like, again, gas prices and inflation. Inflation's at its worst rate since like the 80s, and people are still approving because Joe Biden's a Democrat and I'm a Democrat and I have to approve of everything he does no matter what. And that's both ways it is. If the same thing was happening with Trump, there would be Republicans that would approve it. This is just what happens. It's not what's best for our country. It's, oh, what's good for my party? Joe Biden's in my party. If I say Joe Biden's doing a bad job, I'm basically admitting Republicans are right. I can't do that. And it happens, again, it's the same thing with Trump. When Trump was doing bad stuff and Republicans still liked it, that's what happens. It's like, we don't want what's best for our country. I got to make sure, like, with Joe Biden, I have to approve of the gas prices because, listen, it's not Biden's fault. It's Putin's war. Let's use the talking points that the White House uses. And, never mind the fact that gas was already going up before Putin invaded Ukraine, of course, going up significantly. There's this team mentality. It's not what's best for America. It's what's best for my team. And, even these numbers, 31, how can you approve of that? How can you approve of gas doubling in price? You think that's a good thing? China is getting hit with some significant numbers here. 25,000 new cases, which is the most since the pandemic has begun. That's the cases that China reported. So there's actually a really funny thing it's not funny, but it's just typical China. So I remember back in 2020 when this thing first started and it broke out in China, and every single day I would follow the cases, and the cases quickly went down to zero in China. And me, back in 2020, being naive, I was like, wow, that is great news. That means it doesn't spread very much. Turns out China was just lying about all of their numbers, not disclosing any of them. And I mean, it's just like, if you go back and look at China's cases in 2020, and the map is just, it like goes up, and then it just goes down to zero. They completely lied about it. So this is the most they've reported. It's at 25,000, and there's actually a video from China, and it's so pure China. It's unbelievable. There is a video of a bunch of cats, and they round up all these cats in China, in these cities, and there's like 30 cats in a bag, in these bags, and there's like 5 or 6 bags of them, and you just see this Chinese person filming the cats, and all you hear is you just like, meow, meow, meow. You just hear the cats meowing. They're in these bags in China. It's so typical. It's unbelievable. But I did want to get to this China and Russia military alliance that I've been talking about for a while now. How should the U.S. handle a China-Russia growing alliance? I'm not sure if it's growing. I actually think the Chinese are pretty pissed off. Or maybe they're not. I don't know. I think China is using Russia as guinea pigs and seeing how the world reacts to their invasion of Ukraine. Also, another quick thing. There was a tweet. Let me go to this tweet really quickly. Hold on, guys. I'm sorry. All right, I finally have it. Taylor Green just said the U.S. should stop sending military aid to Ukraine and let them be invaded because Russia will inevitably win and the conflict is affecting trade around the world. No. America right now is in such an amazing spot to where we can fund the war, but we don't have to make any sacrifices in terms of manpower. It is an amazing, amazing thing. And like I said, a few weeks ago, this is a pay-for-play thing right here with Ukraine. We will keep sending Ukraine money. We will keep sending Ukraine supplies as long as they're using it correctly and as long as they're using it efficiently and as long as they're weakening the Russian army. If they're doing that, this is a beautiful situation. We should keep funding them 100%. And, the overall bigger point is we should leave NATO. Guys, we can still fund Ukraine if we left NATO. NATO at this point makes, this is a whole nother video. I'm not going to get into it right now. I've talked about it before. The United States being in NATO at this point in the year 2022 makes 0 sense. When you are in a military alliance and you are so much more powerful than every other country combined in that military alliance, you are at a disadvantage. The military alliance gives you very little. And the United States, you leave NATO, you can still fund them. You can still fund Ukraine. It makes us overseers like China, and it allows us to shift our focus from, Europe. They love NATO. All these European countries, Germany, the UK, they love NATO. They love the fact that they're tied up with America, that they have the buffer of having America on their side. So no matter what happens with Russia, it's like, guys, we're focused 90% on Russia and 10% on China. That should be flipped, and I don't think it's that bad. It's more like 70-30, but it needs to be flipped. We need to spend more of our focus on China and the Chinese and what they're doing than Russia. And Russia is really a European problem. China is a North American problem. That's how I'll put it. That's how I'll put it right there. Russia, European issue. And all these European countries are trying to drag the United States. Oh, it's this global catastrophe. And, there definitely is some unstable leadership. And we don't want the nuclear war. There's no doubt about that. But I'm just saying, this is a really good situation for those European countries to have the buffer of America. And it's like, guys, listen, you have the European Union. We're funding Ukraine. They're weakening Russia every day, we hope. It's a pay-for-play policy. If the Ukraine government and the Ukraine army starts really struggling and we're sending money that's not doing anything, then we're going to stop sending money. But again, that they actually just might keep sending money because they're obsessed with the social justice warrioring. And if we stop sending, no, as long as Ukraine is producing results and weakening Russia, we're going to keep sending them crap. It's a great position for us to be in. Getting the Russian army weaker, getting the Russian military weaker, it's amazing. It is amazing. So I don't know why you would just, we've seen Ukraine have success. They've had success defending their homeland, so keep funding them. I just didn't understand that tweet. But yeah, when it comes to this China and Russia relationship, I wanted to read this article really quickly. I think for a long time, Americans thought about Russia and China as two distinct challenges, and in many ways they are. But one of the things we've seen before and during this crisis is that they are increasingly act together, or at least in parallel, in important ways. So yeah, it's very interesting with China and Russia, and I don't know if they have a growing relationship. I think the way to make it grow is for NATO to get stronger, because then, it's only human nature. I've said this multiple times. If you are China, you're like, listen, NATO is so ridiculously powerful. I would be very scared if I was a Chinese citizen, if I was a government official, about NATO's power. And I would say, why can't we have a military agreement with a country like Russia, with a country like India, to combat that power? So it's the whole idea of if and when China, Russia, and whatever other countries go into their big military agreement, they will use the fact that NATO is formed and NATO is there as an excuse and basically say, listen, you would be total hypocrites if you didn't allow us to go into a military agreement. There's really nothing we can do if China, Russia, and India want to get together and form something similar to the Axis powers in World War II with Germany, Japan, and Italy. Yeah, that's basically World War II 2.0, which would be World War III. But I just thought it was interesting there. We'll have to see what happens with China and Russia. China right now sitting on the sidelines watching the world react to the Russian invasion of Ukraine because they're getting ready to take over Taiwan, and that's going to be a huge event. We'll see when they end up pouncing. I think they're holding off. They're waiting to get stronger. They're smart. They're self-aware. They know they're not on America's level just yet, but every year they're closing the gap. They know that, guys. That's going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.